Hi guys. So I was locked out of my YouTube account for the whole summer, so I haven't uploaded any content in months and months and months, and I'm finally back in there. So I'm trying to upload another video for you here because people are saying it's really useful. These are things that I wish I knew back then at the very beginning. So I wish I'd known this on my journey so much. Okay, so it might be useful for some of you out there, but obviously every single person's journey is different. Some rely on medication. I couldn't take medication, so it's just common sense here. You know what's going to work for you and what's not. Um, Longevity. Oh my God. So when it first started, because I was dizzy 24/7 for weeks and weeks on end, I honestly kept thinking, to begin with, I thought the next day I'm going to wake up and it's going to be gone. It's not going to be there anymore and the dizziness will go. Because if you've never had it before, chronic dizziness, you just think it's going to go. And then a week would get into it, and then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I thought, okay, it's a really bad virus. In a month, it will go. A month, it's still there. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Then that's when it really hits you, and you start to get low moods and stuff as well, depressed and down. And I didn't get a proper diagnosis for the first year as well, either, guys. I was diagnosed with labyrinthitis for the first year. So I was still, it was still okay because that's pretty much vestibular disorder as well. So I was still doing vestibular exercises to get better, which helps with vestibular migraines. But I didn't get an official diagnosis for a year. But I just wish I'd known it was going to last for that long. Now, again, everyone's different. Some people are back to work in 6 months, working full time, which was insane for me. But for me, somebody that was bedridden for oh my God, I was housebound for weeks on end. There was literally periods where I couldn't walk, and my partner had to lift me up to get me around the block, and I'd hold on to him. I couldn't shower. I couldn't shower properly. I couldn't even lift the shower head. I couldn't wash my hair. I couldn't make food. My partner would leave food by my bed. So mine was so severe, and I just wish I'd known it wasn't going to go overnight, and it would take months and months. To be honest, guys, personally, it took me 2 years to get better. To not even get better, to get to the stage where I had hope, and I'm like, this is happening. I'm actually starting to get better, and I could actually see a future for myself. So it took the 2 year mark for me. Like I said, other people are 6 months, but I wish I'd known that. I remember in the early days I read as well. Somebody said that it takes, they're 8 months in and they're still dizzy, and I remember thinking, I cannot deal with this. If I'm like that for 8, 9 months, I can't do it. But I did. Okay, and we'll go into more on that after as well. Right. Yeah, this is a really great one because it's vestibular therapy, okay? When you were as dizzy as I was, which everything's moving, like you can't cross a road. It's so severe, dizziness. I found vestibular therapy didn't help me at the time, okay? So I was dizzy as anything, and then they wanted me to spin around and do this, and then I'd be in bed for the whole day or the whole week, and I'd be so sick, I'd be so nauseous. So I gave up vestibular therapy. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to make myself feel worse, okay? So I gave it up. Interestingly, I went back to vestibular therapy maybe 8, 9 months down the line where my dizziness wasn't as extreme, okay? Now, when I went back and revisited vestibular therapy, when my symptoms weren't as extreme, okay, it's in bedridden, feeling like you're dropping through the bed. I was still dizzy every day, but not as extreme. It worked for me. And I noticed a massive difference going back to do vestibular therapy for the second time. So if it doesn't work the first time for you, consider it further down the road. It might be a year down the road, but just consider it. Don't give up on it completely. I do think it kind of, for me personally, it didn't work when I was at the very beginning of this illness because there's just, I couldn't even get the train to get it to visit them in the first place. It was just a nightmare. But it gave me massive improvements when I went back to it the second time. So vestibular therapy, a godsend for me, literally. Okay, guys, just gonna have some tea. Oh, this is a sad one actually, because this is about friends. So this is a bit where I know people have been dealing with this, by the way. People that I know have had this for a long time. Friends, some that you've had for like your whole life aren't really there for you when you're really, really sick, because it's not like, oh, you've got flu for a week and they bring soup or they come and check on you. Are you all right? Oh, I'll be gone next week. People get tired of us being ill. It's truthful. They get tired because they don't know what to say because we're always sick. We're never getting better. We're not exactly great to be around. And they've also got stuff going on in their life. And it's like it's avoidance. They just start to avoid you. Now, the interesting thing is, I did lose some lifelong friends, okay? What you got to know is, if they're really good friends, they're going to be with you no matter what. If they're meant to be in your life, they will be in your life. Now, what's interestingly is, okay, this is interesting. So my lifelong friends, I had one or two that actually ended up disappearing. But then the ones that were new and unexpected that I'd met just before the illness, like a couple of months before, at work, whatever, are still my best friends 7, 8 years later. So the people that were new friends have been with me throughout the whole journey, and one or two that I've had for my whole life just weren't there. So it varies, guys, okay? It varies. And that's hard. That was hard. Because I've always been the type of person to try and support my friends to my own detriment. I'm one of those people that just puts myself out there too much, I need stronger boundaries. So that's another thing, guys. I want to mention boundaries. If you've had this for a while, you know what you can do and what you can't do. And the best thing I've ever learned in my life, okay, because I've always been one of those people that hates to say no to people, is saying, no, I can't do it. No, I can't go to the club, it makes me dizzy. No. You see what I mean? So I've got good boundaries now. I've got really good boundaries up, strong boundaries, and I stick to them, and no one is changing my mind. No one's changing my mind. I know what I can handle, and I stick to it, and that's the best thing I learned in my life, to having stronger boundaries. You can always do other things with them, it's just extreme things, like go to, I can actually do this, to be honest, but go to like a nightclub with bright lights, or go to a gig or something like that, you get what I'm trying to say. But the boundaries is the biggest thing, and it's the hardest thing, but it's the best thing I've ever learned in my life, I swear. Okay. Oh, now I'm just going to give a little bit of a warning, because this could be quite triggering for some people. I'm not going to go into depth, guys, but this is going to be about depression, Samaritans, things like that. So first of all, we do have the helplines on our vestibular migraine group. If you go, we have a full list there, okay? But I kept going and going and pushing myself to the brink, till my moods were so low. And interestingly, this is the weird thing, as my life started to get better gradually and slowly, okay, and I was slowly healing, my depression just kicked in massively. Now, I had 2 severe incidences where I would say I have called the Samaritans before, and I have had therapy twice, but I left it for so long that it got to the point I remember walking into the kitchen, and my partner was there cooking, and he was already exhausted, doing 10, 11-hour days, looking after me like a carer for like the last year or so. And I'll never forget his face, because his face just dropped. And I just said, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. And I was like, that was, couldn't imagine saying that to anybody. But the worst thing is I was ready. I left it that late that I was just ready. And I thought, I have to tell somebody, or I'm going to do something, So this is so important, and I know it can be triggering for people, but it's so important because of that, and because I spoke to somebody, we got therapy quite quickly, like within a week or two, and I started speaking to somebody, and then on from there, I had another period where I needed therapy again a year later. But that, oh my God, honestly, I was so lucky I spoke to somebody. So that's massive. I wish I hadn't have left it as long as I did. I wish I recognized the signs. I was extremely low and it was concerning, and I spoke out way sooner than leaving it until the point where I'm like, I'm done. I wish I spoke to somebody sooner. So it's so important, guys. All the lines are above, okay, in our group. Every kind of helpline we could find in the US and everywhere, thanks to everyone in the group. Now, Chloe said this. The admin, our amazing admin, Debs and Gemma as well. Time is the biggest healer. In my personal experience, okay, time has been the biggest healer. So no matter how many meds I took, vestibular therapy is a good one for this, because like I said, in the early days, I was taking loads of medication. I was doing vestibular therapy. I was pushing myself to the extremes. But I do believe when you are that extremely dizzy, no matter what you do in the early stages, you're not going to wake up and be like, hey, I feel fine now, everything's great. It takes ages, guys. It took me ages for me to really get better. Now, I know somebody that's exactly like me, okay? And she was really low and down, and she hit the 2-year mark like I did, and something just switched, and she started to get better gradually again. And there was a change at the 2-year mark randomly, like me as well. So I do believe time is the biggest healer in this. I do believe time is the biggest healer. I'm 7 years now, And I don't notice it most days, to be honest. I don't notice it most days. My biggest fear is it could come back full on, which it could do. But when I do have relapses, it's never been to stage 1 like it was 7 years ago. So I'm just trying to not focus on it, because I went through a stage of being obsessed about that as well. I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get sick. And now I literally just try and go on with my day, go for a coffee, go food shopping, cook dinner, go roller skating, maybe catch up with friends in the week. I just try and constantly do things and to take my mind off it. I don't mean always being active. I mean, I'll watch a film. I'll have a film session, like 3 hours, 4 hours in the evening. And I love watching films. I'm a massive film buff. Lawrence of Arabia at the moment. But yeah, it's just time is the biggest healer. I just really feel time is the biggest healer with this. No matter what I would have done in the early stages, I don't think I would have just got better like that. It would have been time. Sorry, my hair's really doing my head in today. Last thing, guys. This is another really important one. So consistent smaller steps lead to the biggest results. So my dad was, in a way, my dad was ex-Special Forces. So in a way, he wasn't around when I got this, okay? But we were kind of brought up to get on with it, get up, get out there, okay? So in a way that kind of helped me, because it pushed me to be active and try and walk every day and things like that. But in another way, it was detrimental towards me, because I exhausted myself and I was burning myself out. I was doing way too much. I was just pushing to get better. It was too much. And that's what I had to learn. It's hard to get that balance right, okay? So you've got to really listen to your body when you're knackered. If you're absolutely knackered, you just rest or down on the sofa, okay? Now, the next day, if you get up and you have a little bit more energy, a lap around the living room, literally. That's how I started, by the way. That's how I started this whole thing. I couldn't even make a cup of tea in the early days. How insane is that? Because I love my tea. Do a lap around the living room. I mean, a small living room, okay? London, tiny living room, do 1 lap, do 5 laps, do 10 laps, do laps around the garden, do laps around the perimeter of the house, across the road. Ooh. Go to the little shop across the road. And it took months and months and months to get better, but I did it consistently. So every single day I was doing something, even if it was really small, like a lap around the living room, okay? And then I was consistent for I've always been consistent, to be honest. So for 2 years, literally, I would say not the first 4 months, because I didn't know I needed to move to get better, because it's a vestibular disorder. But I was consistent. I was always out. I was always walking. Even for 1 minute, for 5 minutes, I was walking every day, and I'd build up every day for 2 years till I could get to 20-minute walking. Oh my God. 20-minute walking with no dizziness, which is insane. I could never imagine a life where I could walk and wouldn't feel dizzy. But I could do 20 minutes without feeling dizzy until the dizziness kicked in. And then I just built up from there. And now I can pretty much, to be honest, I can't remember when I was dizzy last. Maybe in Sweden 2 months ago, a month, 2 months ago. But again, it's very small incidences now. It might be a little bit for a day or a couple of hours, and I just chill out. So consistent small steps are the biggest things. Not like me going out and being like, hey, well, my dad would have walked 10K today. I'm going to walk 10K. I'll be off my face. I'd be like in Richmond Park, swaying, trying to do a 10K because I wanted to prove myself. I can do this. I'm going to beat this. No. Small, consistent steps. Okay, that was the biggest key as well. Small, consistent steps and time. That is it. Over and out, guys. I will speak to you soon.